1. Chairman, you're live.
Good afternoon and welcome to this District Planning Committee meeting on Thursday, the 13th of August 2020. My name is Councillor Penny Channer and I am the Vice Chairman of this committee. This meeting is held under new regulations which came into effect on 4th of April in response to the COVID-19 situation. Now there are just a few housekeeping rules to run through, so please bear with me. First of all, please could I ask everyone present in this meeting to ensure your microphone remains muted and your video feed off when not addressing the committee. This will reduce background noises and avoid any unintentional disturbances. This meeting is being hosted remotely, streamed live and recorded, and by being present in this meeting, you are giving your consent to be recorded. Members and officers, during each item, please use the chat function of the meeting to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Members are reminded that apart from indicating you wish to speak or that you have to leave the meeting, the chat function should not be used for any other purpose. Please do not use the raise hand function as this is not available on all member devices. When speaking and referring to the agenda papers, please can I ask you to ensure that you reference a page or paragraph number. And lastly, if members need to leave the meeting at any point, please do make this known and use the chat function to signify that you need to leave the meeting. Now, if I may ask officers taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Dodson.
Good afternoon, members. Paul Dodson, Director of Strategy, Performance and Governance.
Corrupt.
Please, may I have the next officer, Devon Herner. I hope I pronounced your surname correctly, Devon.
Yeah, you did, well done. Not an easy one. Good afternoon, members. I'm Devon Herner and Specialist in Development Management. Thank you.
Richard Holmes.
Good afternoon, members. Richard Holmes, Director of Service Delivery.
Michael Johnson.
Good afternoon, members. Michael Johnson.
I'm sorry, Michael. I think you may be on mute.
Sorry, it was the microphone. Good afternoon, members. Michael Johnson, Lead Specialist Development Management. Thank you.
Matt Lee, please.
Good afternoon, members. I'm Matt Lee, Lead Specialist for Place here at Malden District Council. Thank you.
Simon Quelch.
Simon Quelch, Monitoring Officer.
Berna Casey.
Good afternoon, members. Brenna Casey, Clerk to this afternoon's committee.
Now, please may I ask any other officers present to identify themselves, or anyone else that I, officer-wise, attending the meeting, I may have forgotten to ask to introduce themselves. Hello, Georgina. Is that Georgina Button trying to?
Yeah, hello, yes, Georgina Button, Brebbleby Programme Lead. Thank
you very much. Is there anyone else? Right. Oh, hello, Catherine.
Good afternoon, it's Catherine Matthews, Specialist in Development Management. Thank you.
And anyone else that's not on my list and I should have introduced? Right, that looks as though I've had all the officers now come forward, and can I just thank all the officers and members for attending, and any members of the public that are listening, because I appreciate this is a very hot day today. Berna, please can I come to you to carry out a roll call of members to confirm who is in attendance. Thank you. And for this purpose, members, obviously you may turn on your microphone and video, but turn it off immediately when you've been seen.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I will take you in alphabetical order as normal. Councillor Bamford, sorry.
Present, Berna.
Thank you. Councillor Bassinger.
I'm present, Berna.
Thank you. Councillor B.S. Beale.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
I'm here, Berna.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Channer.
I'm present. I hope you can see me.
Yes,
Rather
I can.
hot, I have to say.
Councillor Dewick. Councillor Dewick.
Apologies, please, for Councillor Dewick. He's working.
Thank you very much. Councillor Durham.
I don't believe Councillor Durham may be coming.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Fleming.
Present.
Councillor Fluker.
Present.
Councillor Hurd.
Good afternoon, Bernard. Members present.
Thank you. Councillor Helm.
Present.
Councillor Hull.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis.
Good afternoon, Bernard. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Keys. Councillor Keys.
Sorry, apologies. He's working and couldn't get back in time.
Thank you.
Sorry. He did ring me earlier. I couldn't get in touch with you.
Councillor Lagan. Councillor Lagan.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Bernard. I'm working, but I'm here.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
I had heard Councillor Mays earlier.
I did indeed as well. Councillor Mays.
Video's not working.
Yeah.
Present.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Mays. Councillor Morris. Councillor Morris.
You've missed Councillor Morley.
Councillor Morley is apologies for absence. So, Councillor Morris.
Isn't it strange how Dewick can't attend? It's his ward.
Right.
Massive,
thank you, Councillor Morris. We know you're present.
Show up again.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. We need to move on with the roll call. Thank you.
Councillor Nunn. Councillor Nunn.
Yes, here, Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Here, Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle.
Here, thank you, Bernard.
Councillor Skeens.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Councillor Stamp.
She sent her apologies, I believe. She's having problems with her mother.
Yes, she possibly will be dipping in and out. Yes. Councillor Stilts.
Good afternoon. Present, Bernard.
Councillor Swain.
Yes, present, Bernard.
Councillor Mrs. Thompson.
Present, Bernard. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
And Councillor Miss White. Councillor Miss White. I don't think we have Councillor Miss White. Okay.
Apologies, please. She'll be working as well. Sorry, I haven't been very quick to forward these messages.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much. That concludes the roll call, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Then I have apologies for absence now.
Okay. We've received apologies for absence from councillors Miss Beale, Boyce, Dewick, Durham, Hurd.
Councillor Hurd's here.
Oh, sorry, I jumped one there. Sorry about that. I meant Harker.
Yes.
Keys.
Morley,
and Stamp and Miss White.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Now, members, I would like to move on, please, to the minutes of the last meeting, the 9th of July. And it's recommended the minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of July 2020, and they're found, members, on pages 7 to 14, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. If you wish to second that motion, please turn on your video, unmute your microphone and state your name now.
I'll second that, Councillor Hill.
Thank you. If any member wishes to raise any matter of accuracy, please use the chat. And did I see Councillor Bamford come up?
That's right, Chairman. Yes, Chairman. Councillor Bamford would like to speak.
Councillor Bamford, please.
Thank you. It's actually on page 13, the top paragraph where it says what I proposed. On the third line, it should say, making it necessary to undertake the proposed extensive groundwork investigations and insufficient information provided with regard to the effects on the wildlife and heritage sites. I mean, I can send this separately to Berna if she requires it, because it doesn't make sense at the moment.
Right. Well, what I would say to that is that I wasn't in the chair at that meeting. it may well be that that wording does need to be altered. What I would like to do is I will get the recording checked and we'll make sure that what needs to be applied. Are you happy with that?
Well, not really, Chairman, because it doesn't make sense. I was just trying to make it make sense. It doesn't. I'm not changing what it says. I'm just trying to make it make sense.
It sounds as though it's okay, but I want to hear the recording.
If you read it, it doesn't make sense, Chairman. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Bamford. Right. So if we make it make sense and we check the recording of the meeting, do members agree that we can accept those minutes of the meeting?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Agreed.
And is that right, Saint? Is everyone happy with that? I've heard Councillor Bamford. I couldn't see anyone else wishing to speak. So does everyone else
I'm having
agree?
trouble with my
Oh, Councillor Lagan, you want to come in?
Yeah, sorry, I can't. I apologise, members and chair, but I can't actually use the chat function because it's playing up. I can't agree the minutes because I can't see them.
Is Councillor Bamford happy with that?
Councillor Lagan, when you say you can't see them, did you not have them circulated previously? Have you been able to read them at some stage?
Yeah, I always read with great detail, Madam Chairman, all of the documentation that comes our way. But I wanted to make sure that this morning that I wanted to double check everything, and because I can't get access to mod.gov at the moment, I just want to record that I can't agree the minutes because I can't see them.
Oh, because of this. Okay. And Councillor Bamford, are you happy if we utilise the wording you've got? I will obviously check out on the recording as well how it was put over, but are you happy that we do make sense with the wording you've supplied, and could you forward that wording to the minute taker?
Yes, by all means, Chairman, thank you.
Right.
I'll be happy with that.
So bearing in mind what Councillor Lagan said, it's quite unfortunate that he can't agree because he can't see them currently, but everyone else, I believe, assents to that agreement with Councillor Bamford's applied wording. Agreed?
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Right, so we move on to agenda item number 4, declaration of interests, and members to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other pecuniary interests, or non-pecuniary interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraphs 6 to 8, inclusive of the Code of Conduct for members. And members, you are also reminded that you are required to disclose any such interest as soon as they become aware, should the needs arise. If any member has an interest to declare, please use the chat function now to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. That's if I can see it. Councillor Lagan.
Thank you, Chair. Non-pecuniary item number 11. I've had conversations with a vast number of persons objecting to this application.
Thank you, Councillor Lagan. Councillor Skeens, I can see your name. Councillor Skeens?
Yeah, coming, sorry. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting to the agenda, but 2 items from memory. The first is the Marsh Road application, which of course I'm a member of Burnham Town Council, so I guess that's a non-pecuniary interest. And Bradwell B, I'm a member of the working group as well.
Thank you very much.
Non-pecuniary.
Councillor Fluker.
Yes, I've got Councillor Fluker.
And Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Chairman, with regards to agenda item 5, in the interest of openness and transparency, I'm a member of the RHS, and I think that makes a difference and could be pecuniary. With regards to item 10, Chairman, I believe I've got a perceived bias. And with regards to agenda item 11, I was not present for all of the debate. I did actually declare that and said that I lost my internet connection, so I won't be able to consider this application or join in the debate. So, Chairman, given that, I'm going to leave the meeting now. Cheers.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Fluker. Right, Councillor Shaughnessy. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Knowles Farm item, I do know one of the objectors. Thank you.
Is that, excuse me, is that non-pecuniary?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Berna. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Councillor Mays. Councillor Mays, can you hear me? Councillor Helm, could you turn your video off? If you're not
yes.
to speak?
Okay.
Councillor Mays.
Yes, I can.
Can't hear you, Councillor Mays.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, Madam Chairman?
I can hear you, but it got broke up if you were declaring, Councillor Mays.
Yeah, non-pecuniary on item 7 and 10.
Right, thank you very much.
As I am acquainted with the owner of the land, and also 8 and 11 as I sit on the Bradwell B working group.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Morris, do you wish to declare an interest?
Yes, please, Chair. Same as Councillor Lagan. I've had many conversations with residents over Bradwell B. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bassinger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Items 8 and 11, I'm a member of the Bradwell B working group, non-pecuniary.
Thank you very much. Councillor Vanessa Bell, are you wishing to do declare an interest?
I'm not entirely sure, Madam Chair, because I'm unclear about this. But if Councillor Skeens is declaring as a Burnham Town councillor, then I should do so as well. But I'm becoming more and more confused as to what counts as a non-pecuniary interest, to be honest. But I am a Burnham Town councillor, so as such, I should probably declare non-pecuniary on item 5. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, I would always recommend you could have a discussion with Emma Holmes or Mr. Quelch on that matter. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Chair. Item 11, I won't be able to vote because I lost connection right at the end on the last time this came before us. Thank you. I won't be able to take part in the debate either. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's actually not an interest of any kind, but certainly in the interest of openness and transparency, I am a member of the Bradwell Working Group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Nunn.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Well, having heard everybody else, I better declare an interest then in 8 and 11 Bradwell, because I too have had conversations and correspondence with a variety of people over this, and have a particular interest in the heritage of the site. Non-pecuniary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor, I think that might be the last one. Berna, have I captured everyone apart from myself?
Yes, Chairman, you have.
Chairman, may I intervene and declare an interest? I'm on the Bradwell working group because I can't get on the chat.
Thank you, Councillor Helm. I do apologise if I missed you.
No, he's not able to use the chat, it would seem.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Then I will declare myself. I need to declare, as you all know, a non-pecuniary interest. I'm an Essex County Councillor, and many items that might be included in the reports actually do relate to some business of Essex County Council where they've been a consultee. Also to declare that, like some members, regarding the Bradwell application, I was not present at that meeting, and I also did not vote therefore, obviously. So I, like other members, will not be able to participate in the debate or vote at that particular item. And regarding Knowles as well, obviously I've declared about Essex County Council and areas like that. That being the case, there's no more declarations of interest. If I could then move on to agenda item number 5, which is land north of Marsh Road, Burnham-on-Crouch, Essex, pages 15 to 72. It's application number 19/01208/full. Before I go to the officer, it does link just in actually with my declaration I've just made. What I'm going to be doing, members, bearing in mind I won't be able to participate in the Bradwell debate, and indeed can't vote, I don't think it's right that I should remain in the chair for that application. I also decided, therefore, the private business section, and then when we go into public again, I'm going to remove myself to the chambers for both Knowles Farm and Bradwell for the efficiency and effective if you like, procedures of this meeting. It is not fair that I pop into Knowles Farm if I could, and also I don't want to be in a position where I may be conflicted. Therefore, members, I'd like to propose that I will take this application, Marsh Road, but as I've just highlighted, I will be leaving the chamber for the items that cover Bradwell and Knowles Farm. Can I seek proposals, please, for someone to take over that meeting?
Yes, Chair. Could I propose Councillor Thompson, please?
Councillor Thompson, is that seconded? I heard a seconder, I think.
Seconded. Seconded.
Sorry, I thought
Do we?
I was there first.
What? Well, I heard Councillor Thompson come out, Councillor Nunn.
Did you?
Yes.
I heard Councillor Nunn for Councillor Hurd.
I did not hear that. I heard Councillor Thompson, and that's what I heard first. And I believe it's right. Who did you say, Councillor Nunn?
That was
me. Hurd.
Chair.
You said Councillor
I
Hurd.
heard Councillor Nunn for Councillor Hurd.
Well, I heard Councillor Fleming.
It's me.
For
Chair.
Thompson.
I propose Councillor Thompson.
I will take the Councillor Hurd. I will. Yes.
I am content for Councillor Thompson to chair this one meeting.
Okay, Chair. I withdraw my nomination.
Right. Councillor Hurd, can I just say, it's not for this one meeting. I'm going to be in the chair for item 5. It will be for the remaining items. Are you content to still withdraw on that basis? I can't hear you, Councillor Hurd. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yes, I am content with that. Thank you.
Right. So, Councillor Mrs. Thompson will be here for item 5. And then what I would like to do is I would like to get out of the meeting and leave you to take from agenda item number 6 onwards.
Thank you, Chairman. That would be fine. I'll be ready.
Right, so there we go then, members. Now we're now moving to agenda item number 5. I have already introduced it, land north of Marsh Road, Burnham-on-Crouch. In a moment, I'm going to be calling on the officer, which is, I believe, going to be Devon Herner, presenting this. And members, please may I give you a reminder again. I know I might keep repeating myself, but I hope that is helpful to you, that should you wish to speak on this item, please make this known by using the chat function only. Do not raise your hand. I will then come to you in turn. I do assure you of that, with the assistance of Berner. And please, can I ask you, bearing in mind obviously the debate, please make points clear and concise. And if you relate to anything, if there is a page or paragraph number, that would be helpful. So therefore, without further delay, can I please go to Ms. Herner to please present this report?
Apologies, I think I was on mute. Thank you, Chairman. So this application seeks full planning permission for 90 homes on a strategic allocation to the north of Marsh Road at Burnham-on-Crouch. It also includes the provision of public open space, landscaping and associated infrastructure. Before we move on, I just wanted to provide members with a brief verbal update in relation to the RAMS contribution. This is discussed at paragraphs 5.12.8 and 5.13.22 and section 8 of the officer's report. The figures in these relevant paragraphs are incorrect and should be updated to reflect an updated fee of £125.58 per dwelling, which reflects an increase that happened as part of the new financial year. Likewise, at paragraphs 5.12.8 and section 8, there's a total fee that would be required, which should be a total contribution, which should be updated to be £11,302.20. The document has also recently been adopted, and therefore it's no longer regarded as an emergent document as stated in the officer's report, and is of substantial weight in the determination of the application. Okay, so here we have the location plan, and the plan to the bottom of your screen shows the full extent of the strategic allocation within the LDP. As you can see from the location plan, that the site only relates to the eastern parcel of land within the site. Here we have the site layout plan, and the dwellings are proposed in 7 separate parcels of development, if you like. There's a local equipped area of play within the southwest corner of the site, open space to the north, We've proposed SUDS features, 2 attenuation ponds. This area of the site is actually flood zones 2 and 3, but all of the housing that you see is proposed within flood zone 1. There's a community orchard proposed down in the bottom corner of the site to the southeast here. A existing public right of way runs up the western boundary. It's proposed at a gramping condition to upgrade this to hard standing to mitigate the more extensive use of it as a result of the development is imposed. There's also a foul pumping station and a substation to the west of the entrance. The layout continues the build pattern of the town. It's made up of grids rather than suburban cul-de-sacs, which you would usually see with more modern development. So this representation of the existing urban grain is considered a positive approach. The buildings have been positioned with active frontages with a strong building line and a distinct street edge. And you can just see to the bottom of the site here, there's going to be a crossing to provide access from the site to the school adjacent. So here we have the siting of the affordable housing. So there'll be 11 one-beds, which is partly made up of bungalows and flats over within the eastern side of the site here. 18 two-beds and 7 three-beds. This is just the building height plan, just showing that the majority of the properties will be 2-storey with the exception of the bungalows, and then single-storey garages. Material plans show a mixture of brick, render and weatherboard, providing visual interest but also maintaining the character of Burnham. This is the local equipped area of play layout. It includes 5 different types of play equipment. It's located near the site access and footpath, so it would invite users from outside the site as well as it was in the site, but it's also not located any further than 5 minutes walking distance from each of the homes proposed. And here we move on to the plans of the proposed properties. So this is a 2-bed and 3-bed property here. It's so these are 2 separate designs but the same floor plan layout. Another 3-bed, again 2 separate designs, and another 3-bed, and another 4-bed with 2 different designs but same floor layout, another 4-bed. These are the bungalows provided as affordable housing. Oh, sorry. The 2-bed affordable units, again 2 different designs but same floor layout. 3-bed affordable units, and this is the flatted block. Here we have the bin and cycle store, which will serve the flats, carport serving some of the dwellings, proposed garages. The street scenes at the top, so you can see that the bungalows sit within their own character within the street scene. And then you can see the attenuation basins within the middle 2 street scenes, just to show the areas of public open space. So we have some photos of the application site, ones of the surrounding area. Then this one you can see the listed St Mary's Church in the background, the neighbouring school, and then the street scene looking east. So the development accords with the minimum delivery requirements set out in policy S2 of the local plan and S1 of the neighbourhood plan. There's been sufficient contributions towards infrastructure, services and facilities, which will be provided through conditions in the Section 106 agreement. This includes highways improvements to the junction of Malden Road and Church Road, and also school and healthcare contributions. The development provides suitable provision of affordable housing and would meet the identified need for smaller residential accommodation. It's not been found to be harmful to the character and appearance of the area, site or neighbouring heritage assets. There's adequate provision for off-street parking and amenity space, including public open space, and there would not be undue harm to the neighbouring amenity. Therefore, subject to the Section 106 and the proposed conditions, it's considered the development would be acceptable and is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms Hannah. Now, members, under the Council's public participation scheme, we have received 1 submission from the applicant. In line with the public participation scheme, I have reviewed the submission and will now ask Mr Michael Johnson, please, to read out the submission allocated in the allocated time in accordance with the scheme. Mr Johnson, please. Planning Officer.
Thank you, Chairman.
Lee.
This is a submission from the applicant, Catherine Williams of Savills, on behalf of Taylor Wimpey. Good afternoon, members. Thank you for allowing this statement to be read in support of the application. I am the agent for the applicant, Taylor Wimpey. As you are aware, the application seeks full planning permission for 90 high-quality residential units on strategic site S2K in the local plan. Following extensive discussions with officers, Historic England, and the Town Council, the proposals relate to land in the eastern part of the allocated site in order to fully preserve the setting of the Grade 2 listed church. Policy S6 sets out a series of criteria for development in Burnham-on-Crouch, against which the proposals have been assessed and considered acceptable by your officers. Notably, in relation to infrastructure impact, Essex County Council have advised, in relation to both highways and education matters, that the development is acceptable, subject to contributions to Marsh Road highway improvements and education provision. The proposal also includes provision for the resurfacing of the existing right-of-way, which runs north-south to encourage pedestrian connectivity with Stony Hills and a new pedestrian crossing on Marsh Road to the school to improve pedestrian safety and encourage walking. The proposals incorporate 40% affordable housing as required by Policy H1 in a mix supported by your housing officer. As identified by your officer, the proposals comply with Policy H2 and provide 67.8% smaller units overall. The proposals fully mitigate the ecological impact of the development, and there are no objections from statutory consultees in this respect. Moreover, the applicant's consultants have worked closely with the Environment Agency, and there are no objections in relation to flood risk and drainage. As well as addressing all technical consultation comments, the applicant has worked extensively with planning and design officers through a series of pre-application discussions and ongoing dialogue through the application submission. This has created a high-quality design scheme, which will provide good quality landscape areas, including public open space, a new play area, and orchard for use by future residents as well as the existing community. Overall, your officers have concluded that the proposals are acceptable in planning terms. We are proud of the planning application you are considering today and delighted to have the opportunity to work with Malden District Council again to deliver a key part of the local plan. I therefore respectfully request that the application be approved in accordance with your officer's recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I did let you go marginally over there, the time allowed for speaking, but I thought I would let members hear all of that submission,
Thank you, Chairman.
which I thought was probably the best way to do that. Is there? Can I just ask, are there other officers wishing to come in at this time? Was anyone else? I know we've got Mr. Lee here. I take it that if no one else is coming in, we're happy with obviously the presentation. There's no extra points to add at all whatsoever.
Nothing new this time, Councillor Chairman.
Right. Okay, members, I would point out that there is a recommendation as set out within the report, and I will draw it to your attention, and it is as follows. It's that the planning application 19/01208/full for the land north of Marsh Road, Burnham-on-Crouch, be approved subject to a 106 agreement and the conditions in section 8. Now, I'd move that. If a member wishes to second that, then I will open up the debate on that, because I have got the name. You'll second it. Thank you, Councillor Helm. Right, I have got a number of members who wish to speak. Berner, I have got Councillor Skeens, Morris, Bamford, Bell, Swain and Mays.
That's
have I
correct.
missed anyone?
No, that's correct, Chairman.
I've got a hand up.
Oh, Councillor Hall mustn't be able to use the, that's just gone up. So Councillor Hall as well, we'll add Councillor Hall to that. So okay. Otherwise that's everybody so far.
Okay, so Councillor Skeens, I saw you first. Well, that's the order they're coming in, and that was Councillor Morris. So Councillor Skeens, can you start, please?
Yes, I have serious concerns, of course, as you would possibly expect. I'm concerned most importantly about infrastructure. Schools and NHS have expressed some reservations. Also, equally important, the LDP, the local development plan, we have exceeded our allocation by far, and I'm going to return to this point in a minute. Also, of course, the badger set, there's a lot of local concern about the badger set. The local primary school objects, they don't like the lay-by. They're concerned about congestion on that road, and it is a very tight road. Some people are saying the leap is too small. There's been at least one amber warning from the Environment Agency. Waste management are worried about distances to bins and roads perhaps not being highway standard. NHS properties don't seem particularly happy. Conservation officer says damage caused to the views of St Mary's Church will be minor. I disagree, and I note that in this application there are no photographs of the views towards St Mary's Church, which I consider an omission. County Highways has concerns. Education Department doesn't seem particularly happy about it. Environment Agency has an objection. Fire Brigade has concerns. Natural England too. Gasworks have concerns. And Essex Wildlife, I think, are still holding an objection. Anyway, look, here's the thing. There are too many houses.
Can I have the question, please, Councillor Skeens?
Yeah, I'm coming to the question. There are too many houses here. I'm not confident that the developers are going to be able to provide sufficient infrastructure, and I need to make the point, and this is a point also which I'm making partly on behalf of Councillor Stamp, who isn't able to be here. She had an email from Mr. Lee which said, as you're aware, the housing figures are a floor, not a ceiling, referring to the housing figures in the LDP. However, there are limitations and issues. Easiest way to put it, that if unallocated sites are granted planning permission before an application such as this one comes in for an allocated site, you can end up in a position where the capacity for infrastructure has already been taken up, and therefore it could be refused.
Councillor Skeens,
yeah, please. I am the local.
I was going to say, I obviously am being generous because you've gone over the time already. So could I ask you to be succinct and wind up?
Okay. Well, we do have two allocated sites, and so I'm basically saying that I'm not minded to support this, but I will say that if, and here's my question, if this is going to be approved, can I suggest a condition that this site needs a car park with sufficient room for twice daily influxes of cars dropping children off at St Mary's, with safe provision for them to cross the road, such as a footbridge, doubled with a zebra crossing to enable disabled access, and that if this is accepted, that we don't lose things like affordable housing or the community orchard to get it. That's my position.
Thank you. As you were quite lengthy there, and as a ward member, I've let you be a bit lengthy. Could I ask the officer, only fair, to come and answer those points? A number of them have been raised, actually, are covered off. They've been made by perhaps representations, and I believe they've been covered off, a large number of those. But Ms. Herner, can I ask you to come back on some of those points and the questions raised and the concerns?
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully, I've got all of those. So I'll just take them in turn. So in relation to the infrastructure, and in that I include both the NHS contributions and the school contributions, the responses from both NHS and Essex County Council in terms of schools require certain contributions, monetary contributions, to be able to deliver the required infrastructure, which the developer has agreed to provide through the Section 106. So it's considered that there will be sufficient funds there to provide any upgrades that are needed. In terms of the allocations and Burnham on Crouch, note that there is limited infrastructure within Burnham, but this is an allocated site within the local plan. As Councillor Skeens mentioned, it's not a ceiling. It's a minimum number of dwellings on this site, which is 90. And also, the fact that the contributions will bring forward the required infrastructure, it wouldn't be considered reasonable for us to object on those grounds. In terms of biodiversity, the site is considered of limited ecological value at the moment, and the proposals such as the open space to the north of the site, the orchard and the planting within the site is considered to bring forward net biodiversity gain. which is a benefit which weighs in favour of the development. The local equipped area of play is provided to the correct sizes as required under our green infrastructure plan. The waste management, originally the waste management team internally raised some concerns about distances for bins to be collected and travel distance from dwellings, but that's subsequently been addressed and new plans have been updated and they've withdrawn their objection. In terms of the heritage assets, so part of the reason that the site now only relates to the eastern area rather than the whole allocated site is to preserve the setting of St Mary's and Burnham Hall just to the north of St Mary's. So with the fact that that's being kept as open space, it's not considered that there would be demonstrable impacts on the setting of the historic heritage assets. The Environment Agency's original concern was to do with flood risk, but in sort of recent months, the developer and myself have been in conversation with them, and the flood risk assessment's been updated. So there's no longer any concerns in that regard. There's safe refuge for everybody in dwellings at first floor should there be any flood, but as I've previously advised, all the dwellings are located in flood zone 1, and there's also safe access, emergency access to and from the site if need be. Natural England and Essex Wildlife Trust not objected to the applications of such. They've just recommended conditions to ensure that the development's carried out in accordance with the mitigation proposals contained within the ecological proposal. And then I think the last point was in relation to parking, and Councillor Skeens was discussing about having a drop-off point for the school. This was originally proposed as part of the application, but the applicant had spoken with the local highway authority and they'd advised that it was of limited benefit, so that was removed from the scheme, but there's still the crossing between the application site and the school opposite. I hope that covers.
Can I quickly come back on that last point? That's a sort of sorry, you haven't got your microphone on.
Beg your pardon, I've done it. Something gone wrong there. Ms. Herner, can I just ask regarding the last point, which was Councillor Skeens referred to condition? Can you explain where that is covered off in the conditions? I've tried to get my conditions up to find it, but if you could just answer that point about, I think that was referring to the influx of traffic regarding the site. The last point, it was the last thing Councillor Skeens said. Councillor Skeens, would you like to repeat that?
To clarify, I was asking for a condition that put a footbridge in there with a zebra crossing to allow people who are using wheelchairs and such things and buggies, because I feel that's the only safe way that you can, and with a car park inside the site. As I remember, the original proposal sort of. There was an ingress problem, but I still feel that it's really important to have a car park in the site, which gives room for people to drop off. Otherwise, this road is just going to be a nightmare. It's obvious to locals anyway that it's going to be a nightmare. And a footbridge. Why not a footbridge sufficiently high for agricultural vehicles?
Can the answer now come back on that, please, Ms. Turner?
Yeah. So under condition 30.
Thank you.
Oh no, sorry, that's not the right one.
Yeah, I've now managed to just come up now, so
29, sorry. So that condition 29 requires that the pedestrian crossing be provided as shown on the plan. The details of which are required under condition 28 and will be through discussions with both ourselves and the local highway authority. I don't think, because it should obviously be a safe crossing for school children, so I don't think it would be reasonable for us to impose as part of the condition that would have to be a footbridge over the road, but there should be sufficient detail coming forward as part of that discharge of conditions application that would ensure that it was safe and would provide suitable access across the site.
And I do notice on those conditions there's quite a salient point on both, and it does say before, I believe, just let me get this a moment, about provided prior to the first occupation of the development.
Yeah, that's correct. So
that covers off on both of those. I think that might answer your queries, Councillor Skeens. Can I just ask who the other ward member is, please? Perhaps I should know this. I know we've got Burnham members, but
Councillor Anne Hull, Madam Chair.
Right. Councillor Morris. Yes, thank you. Councillor Morris, I did have you down second to speak. Would you give way to Councillor Hull initially as another ward member with Councillor Skeens, and then I will come to you?
I should clarify, I'm not a ward member, but I'm a Burnham member. Anne Hull is the ward member.
Right. Councillor Morris, would you be happy to accede to that? Let Councillor Hull as the ward member speak, and then I will come to you after that.
I'm fine to wait, Henry. I don't mind.
No, ladies first, I insist.
Yeah. Councillor Hull, as the ward member, that's why I asked, because Councillor Skeens said he was, and I thought, well, I want to find out who the other ward member is, but it is yourself. So I do apologise. I should have perhaps called the ward member first. So please, Councillor Hull.
Oh, well, one of my worries is the abattoir just there. It's quite unique to Burnham, and as there's a small amount, there's very few abattoirs in the area, but being a part of the country, it will have lots of smells and noises, and I'm just concerned that it will affect the residents, and then they will in turn put complaints in about about an abattoir being on their doorstep. That was one. And also, will the footpath be upgraded to a bridleway, and would we be able to ride through the ground that they're leaving for common ground?
Right. Thank you, Councillor. I'll ask the officer to come in. I know that there was a condition, I think it might have been 30, that was related to the footpath, but I'm not sure if there was something else, and I'm not remembering correctly. Ms Herner, perhaps you could come in on those points.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yes, Councillor Chan is correct. Condition 30 in relation to the public right-of-way requires it to be upgraded to hard surfacing, and this was on the basis of the fact that it would have more footfall. So it isn't as to be used as a bridleway as such, but it's to just to allow for that increase in visitors to the footpath. In relation to noise and smell impacts, there's nothing been raised as a concern from from our environmental health colleagues in relation to this, and it is noted that there are other of properties nearby that aren't affected, and that there doesn't appear to be any complaints sort of to the north of the abattoir either. So
thank you. Through the chair, please, Councillor Hull. Through the chair, please.
Oh, can I speak back?
Yes, just through the chair. Yes.
I'm just concerned that it's an early morning impact, and I know, from experience, people aren't used to living in the country. That's always a major problem. But also, would it be possible to say that it's going to be a bridleway through there, because Burnham hasn't got any bridleways whatsoever?
I think the officers probably answered, but Ms Herner, come back.
So in terms of the bridleways, it's not being proposed as part of the application. Yeah. It wouldn't be reasonable for us to impose that upon it at this stage. And also any concerns, anything raised in relation to smells would have to go through environmental health as part of separate legislation.
And what I would believe would happen, Councillor Hull, is when searches are done, normally on purchase of a property, so it's not a planning matter. If you're intending to purchase, then a search is normally done, and it does perhaps reveal things in the locality and other issues as well. Councillor Morris, thank you very much indeed for giving way to Councillor Hull, the ward member. Councillor Morris, please.
Hello, thank you very much. Councillor Skeens has already pretty much covered everything, so I haven't got much to say. I'd like to thank Devon for her diligence, and I'd just like to inform you as chair that I'm having problems with the chat function, so I might need to gate crash with a question, opinion, or statement occasionally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll ask officers to look into this problem with the chat that some members do need to be having. Councillor Bamford, I've now got you next on the list. Councillor Bamford.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, problems with unmuting myself. Thank you, Chair. I have 2 points to raise, one of which is to do with the LEAP, which I normally raise. It relates to page 47 of the report at 5.13.3, where it refers to a management company to deal with the LEAP and other items. And then on page 61 at number 8, which is talking about the Section 106 agreement, it refers to the LEAP, open space footways, related lighting, street furniture, signage and all landscaping, but it doesn't mention in the Section 106 agreement anything about the management company. So although it did so in the report, it doesn't say so in this heads of term. So that's a question. And I also want to be assured that in the term landscaping, which is covered by this point and covered by the management company, landscaping includes the attenuation basin, the play equipment, the pumping station, and the orchard, which isn't mentioned, the public orchard. So I just want to make sure all that is covered somewhere. It's not mentioned in the conditions at all. And my other point relates to page 29 at 5416 in relation to the bungalows. Now, they're described at that point in the report as a distinct characteristic within the site. And I'm wondering if we can in any way stop any additions to those bungalows, i.e. dormers or extensions, because they have this distinctive character on the site. Can we stop them being altered in any way? So those are my 2 points. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hannah, I'm going to come back now because some of the issues that members are raising are quite detailed and complex. So I don't think it's fair to go on to another member. I'd rather perhaps ask you to answer those points raised by Councillor Bamford and her concerns regarding the LEAP, the 106 and the other matters raised.
Thank you, Chairman. In relation to the management of the LEAP, I would just need to check the draft section 106, which I don't have immediately to hand, so I'll just need a moment to find that. In relation to the bungalows, I think the query was whether we could retain the existing character of those. So I can't find the section, but in part of the report, it does recommend that we remove permitted development rights for in relation to class A, B and E within the site. So that would stop people putting extensions, door windows or outbuildings within the site without gaining planning permission from us in the
So that
first
will answer that question on the bungalows.
Yeah, but if you don't mind bearing me just 1 second.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes,
just to point out, the restriction on the development is at condition 22.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. You must have seen my hand trying to scroll and find it. Devon, are you happy for me to ask another member to ask a question while you're trying to find that? Or do you think?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Right, okay. Next on my list, oh, that's my list now. This is good. Oh, hang on, I found it again now. Councillor Bell.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. You'll be relieved to know that Councillor Skeens has raised most of the points that I intended to raise, but just to reiterate that, you know, it's in the wrong place, this site, really. And when it was initially allocated, you know, things have moved on since then. We've had significant new housing come on stream since then, infrastructure saturation, but crucially, just to draw attention to the fact this is a very, very important archaeological site. And I note there are quite strict conditions in terms of archaeological research being done. But just I'd like to just reiterate the importance, if this is approved, that those are rigidly adhered to, because it would be unthinkable to lose you know, part of our heritage, part of our history through this. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Well, all conditions, as you will be aware, do need to have to be signed off at some stage. Ms. Hannah, have you managed to find the 106 you were looking for? Or do you wish me to go on?
Yep, I've got that.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's fine. Thank you. So the section 106 requires that any open space maintenance company employed to maintain the local open space enters into a deed of covenant with the council in respect of the obligations within the 106, and then as part of the maintenance of the open space, which includes the landscaping, it requires them to submit any management proposals for all aspects of the open space. So this would include the orchard as well, require details of how the public will have access, how it will be managed, the provision of play equipment etc. So I think Councillor Bamford's concerns are covered off within the 106.
So there's the heads of terms, but behind that is the schedules or whatever they call it, where all the detail lays.
Yes, as part of the application, they submit draft heads of terms, and then we start working with them to draft the detailed section 106. So it has a lot more detail within the 106, which will be the ultimate signed document.
Thank you. Councillor Bamford, I think that answers your point on that.
I think she'd like to come back, Chairman, just quickly.
Is it a supplementary, Councillor Bamford?
You're muted, sorry.
Chairman. Yes, it is a supplementary.
It's a
It's
supplementary.
regarding the condition that was referred to about the bungalows. I think it was condition 22, was it? That's only talking about permitted development rights. What I was asking is if we can restrict anything being done to the bungalows to change them in appearance, because what that condition is saying, they can come back if they want to do something, and they'll have to get planning permission. Can we not stop them from being altered in any way?
You're talking about dormers and things like that?
Yes, because it would change the character.
Mr. Lee, it looks like you might want to be saying something.
Thank you, Chairman. I just thought for clarity, obviously the only ways planning can restrict is what would require planning permission. We can't legally remove somebody's ability to submit a planning application. There's no way of doing that. What would happen is any future application would have to be assessed in its own merits and see if there was any harm to the overall design. But yeah, there's no way of just removing somebody's legal right to submit an application. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. I think that might have answered that, Councillor Bamford. So thank you for that supplementary, and I think that has answered it off. Councillor Swain. Councillor Swain.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Some fairly short points. With regard to that last one, I would have thought covenants could be used to restrict changing the appearance of the area or of individual properties. My question of information, I'm not clear from the initial diagrams whether there are one or two accesses to the highways from this development. I wasn't sure whether there's one to the south and one to the east. On education, there clearly is some divergence between the certainty that given by the impression of the developer and I think the perceptions of other people, including those in Burnham, about that policy recommended that one of the reasons, one of the justifications must be that pupil demand can be accommodated. Given that the Essex County Council seem to have said that would be okay, I think we will need to follow up with some demand for justification of that and how they are going to meet the requirement. Lastly, a point which applies to this and I think the rest of the agenda, I am concerned that the numbers of members present and voting is so small of the total committee. It does mean we have to be extremely careful about the decisions that we come to.
Well, Councillor Swain, to my knowledge, we are Core 8. I'll stand to be corrected later on. I believe we're Core 8, and therefore we can proceed. Regarding the covenant you refer to, I will let the officer come back, but I think covenants are applied to deeds. They're not something I believe can be put on through this matter of the process, but I'll stand to be corrected. Ms. Herner, please. Oh, Mr. Lee, then. Sorry.
I'll speak. Well, yeah. Thank you, Chairman. To be honest, yeah, you said it perfectly. So there's nothing really to add here. It's not a planning issue. The imposition through covenants. Thank you, Chairman.
Did you wish to say anything else that Councillor Swain referred to at all?
No.
Just the point. Sorry.
Sorry. After you, Councillor Swain.
No, through the chair, please, Councillor Swain.
No, it's just the point about accesses. I'm not clear how many accesses are to the highways.
Yeah, we'll get the case officer, Ms. Herner, to pull up the plans and show you. Thank you, Chairman.
Ms. Herner, you can share your screen, I think, can't you?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
I can.
It's to show the accesses, Councillor Swain's point.
Chairman, I can't chat, but can I confirm it is one access?
There we go. Yeah, so there's one access to the southwest corner down here.
Does that help? Does that help, Councillor Swain? You can see where the officer's pointing to on the screen?
Yes, at the bottom, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think your points have been answered. And I have confirmation we do have, we are core 8, and going forward, I believe we're core 8 as well. So I have had that confirmed. Last but not least, I don't mean this rudely, Councillor Mays. That's the last name I have currently on the list.
Sorry, Madam Chairman. Councillor Mays has withdrawn her question because it's already been covered. Councillor Hall has spoken, but I believe Councillor Thompson had a question.
Oh, I missed Councillor Thompson. I do apologise. There's method in my madness, you see, getting the questions answered one at a time, because that then might offset, like we've had on several occasions, members' questions already been answered. Sorry, Councillor Mrs Thompson, I didn't actually see you on the chat.
It's got lost in the chat. It's a very quick one, thank you, Chairman. I noticed the Fire Brigade recommended the use of sprinklers. It's almost certainly in the report, but I can't find it. Could someone please confirm whether this is the case, whether it's part of the design? Thank you, Chairman.
Right, I'm not sure if that's, I read something somewhere, I can't remember if it's the informative, I'm probably wrong, so I better let the officer come back.
Here's Mr. Lee.
Sprinklers, there was something in the report about sprinklers.
Thank you, Chairman. Yep, Matt. So the Essex Fire Brigade have recommended that, but that would come forward as part of the building regs stage, so it would be the next stage.
And it's not required on an informative, so it is the building regs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think that answers that off. Right,
Madam Chairman, Councillor Skeens would like to put forward a proposal. He's put that in the meeting chat, but I know we already have one on the...
Well, I was going to say, at the moment, there is a proposal on the table, which I made and has been duly seconded. So that is the proposal I will have to place first.
Yes, but I completely understand that, but I wanted to sort of request a condition you see, I'm really concerned, as a lot of people in Burnham is that with so many people living there, plus the school, there is going to be chaos on that tiny road. And I would like to propose that a car park, footbridge and level crossing be a condition. I think that's the only way we're going to solve what is going to be chaotic.
Well, I think that might have already been answered in the condition that the officer referred to earlier. Ms. Turner, I'm not sure that condition. Can you please answer that? In the conditions before us, I did see reference to various things, and you've already really answered Councillor Skeens' point on that earlier. But just to re-emphasise the point, I think might be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So condition 28 requires pedestrian dropped curbs and tactile paving immediately to the west of the access to provide in front of the school. And then condition 29 requires the detail of the what will be agreed through condition 28.
Exactly, but you'll understand it's very hard for a local councillor to see a problem coming, propose a solution and be told that you can't really propose a solution. And it's just quite frustrating. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, I think what it is, Councillor Skeens, if it's any consolation to you, the officers have, I think it's been a very full report by the officer.
I agree. It's been
a full consideration of all the matters raised. I think Ms Hearn has been exemplary in covering all the points that have members raised and answered on the planning grounds. And therefore, I did propose, and Councillor Helm seconded at the beginning of the debate. Bernard, I'm now going to take a roll call, please, of the voting, please. And could you go through alphabetically to achieve that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. So we'll start with, just bear with me, I'm having some technical problems now. So we'll start with Councillor Bamford, please. And please state clearly, members, for, against or abstain.
For.
Councillor Bassinger.
Against. Jesus. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Beale.
For.
Councillor Bell.
Against.
Councillor Mrs Channa.
For.
Councillor Edwards.
For.
Councillor Mrs Fleming.
For.
Councillor Hurd.
As it's an allocated site, 4.
Councillor Helm.
4.
Councillor Hull.
4.
Councillor Jarvis.
4.
Councillor Lagan.
Against.
Councillor Mays.
Councillor Mays.
Against. Against.
Councillor Morris.
Definitely against.
Nunn.
Reluctantly 4.
Councillor Shaughnessy.
Against.
Councillor Siddle.
4.
Skeens.
We've massively exceeded our allocation against. It's unsafe.
Councillor Stilts.
Against.
Swain.
4.
Councillor Thompson.
4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, members. That's 13 for, 8 against, no abstentions.
So therefore, members, that application has been approved. We're now going to be...
Madam Chairman.
Oh,
Madam Chairman.
Councillor Bassinger.
Sorry, Madam Chairman. When I cast my vote, I heard a comment of Jesus come across from a member, which I think is totally inappropriate and incorrect. So I would just like to raise that point. Thank you.
I didn't hear that. Did Bernard? Did any other one else hear that?
I did very clearly,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Right, in that case, then, I do agree with Councillor Bassinger. That is not appropriate within the meeting, and I would hope that member afterwards, perhaps bearing in mind the offence it clearly has given to Councillor Bassinger, perhaps feels it right within themselves to make an apology outside of this meeting. Thank you, Councillor Bassinger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I know they won't, but anyway.
Okay, I'm afraid I didn't hear it. It's often, you know, I'm concentrating on other things and that, but thank you for raising, and I'm hoping that that might be the answer to your point you've raised. In that case now, we're now going to have to move on to agenda item number 6, and as I declared earlier, I am now going to actually be leaving the meeting totally. For the reasons I gave earlier, I think that is the most sensible thing to do, bearing in mind what I stated regarding the items coming up. So at this point, I'm going to leave the meeting and I'm going to hand over to Councillor Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson, will you give me time just to get out? I'm going to hang up now. And can I just one point actually thank Councillor Morris for giving way to the ward member in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Channer. I can behave myself as long as my democratic rights are respected.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Morris.
Okay, Verna, can we confirm that Councillor Channer has left as she suggested she would, or stated she would?
Well, she's certainly not with, just bear with me. Yes, it would appear she has, yes.
Thank you. So we come to item 6, exclusion of the public and press. I'm just going to say before we move into private session, I'd like to defer to the monitoring officer to take us through the process for the remainder of the meeting. So that would be Mr. Quelch, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Just a reminder to members of the email that I sent round yesterday that the Constitution requires that if you have not heard all the debate and received all the information, you can't debate or vote in the application. So if you weren't at if you didn't hear everything on the 9th of July in relation to each of these 2 applications that are to be subject to private and confidential consideration, then you wouldn't be able to vote or debate in those two particular applications. Obviously, if you've heard Knowles Farm and you haven't heard Bradwell or vice versa, then obviously you can debate or vote in that particular one where you've heard everything. But otherwise, our constitution says that you can't debate or vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Procedure for the rest of
Okay, I'm going to read the next bit. We now move into private session, and I move that under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1970.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
No, I'm sorry, I need to finish the proposal before anyone votes on anything. Councillor.
I do not think this should be going into P&C. I propose that we have a vote to take it out of P&C.
We're going to finish the proposal.
The
I'm partway
public
through meeting.
have
If
a
it
right
fails, you can
to
put
know.
yours. Councillor Morris,
public
would you
has
please
a
let
right
me
to
finish
know.
what I'm reading? We
If
haven't
we
got anything
are
to vote
about
on.
to be
If you
bribed,
persist in talking
bullied,
over
or
me,
blackmailed,
Councillor
the
Morris,
public
if
need
I
to
can't-
hear it.
If I can't manage the business of the council because of your constant interruptions, I will close the meeting. That's warning number one.
That is your gift. I am requesting that a vote is taken. I'm proposing that a vote is taken to decide whether or not this does go into PNC.
That's exactly what we're doing, Councillor Morris.
Public
Councillor
have
Morris,
a right
if
to
you
know.
would please let me finish. This is a proposal. We can take a vote. You can have a recorded vote if you ask for one. But please let me at least finish the motion. Thank you. And would you please turn off your video and microphone? I'm going to begin at the beginning again in case we've lost track. We now move into private session. I move that under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, that the public and press be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following item of business on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 5 of part 1 of schedule 12A to the Act, and this satisfies the public interest test.
Apologies, Madam Chairman. Could I just ask you to hold for a moment? I'm trying to call back in Councillor Skeens.
Fine. Do I have anyone who will second that?
I'll second that, Councillor Helm.
Thank you. Do we have
recorded vote, please, Madam Chair?
Of course.
Vote.
Are we all right with that, Berna?
Just bear with me. I need to get Councillor Skeens back in.
Fine. We can wait. Would everyone else please come off the video and mute their microphone?
Excuse me, Chairman, forgive me to interrupt. With your permission, could I just say to members the consequences if they do vote vote against this proposal that you
your tough advice, Simon. We have heard your dodgy advice.
I've asked you to be quiet. I'm going to listen to the monitoring.
Yeah, you can ask and I can refuse.
Right,
we've heard his dodgy advice. He's already
Councillor
sent an
Morris.
email out.
Number 2
us.
will not
I'm
allow
not
me to
falling
conduct the
for it
business of the
again.
council. I will close the meeting.
Then close the meeting if you must. That is your gift.
It certainly is.
Can I just call, please, for some calm? What I think, Chrissy, what is happening is the chairman is calling for a vote. We'll all have an opportunity to vote on this. Let's just go and let's get that business done. Thank you.
However, thank you, Councillor Hearn. I appreciate that, and certainly I forgive the interruption. However, I do wish to hear the monitoring officer's advice, because this could have quite severe consequences if we don't at least be aware of what we're doing. Thank you, Mr. Quelch.
Well, bullying and blackmail will not work.
Councillor Morris, that's warning 2.5.
Yes.
I'm getting there.
Oh, 2.5. Can you give me a 2.5 warning?
Mr. Quelch, please.
Members, if you obviously you have a choice whether you vote in favour or against this motion. That's a matter for you. But if you vote against it, that means the legal advice will be open to the developers, and that legal advice has quite strong advice to members in it. Now, by the public seeing that legal advice, that means whatever your decision ultimately on those applications, ultimately, they will then be privy to quite detailed and specific information, legal advice from a very well qualified planning barrister, and that may prejudice the interest.
May prejudice.
Well, that's exactly what I said, Councillor Morris. Thank you for repeating what I just said.
Through the chairman, please. Through the chairman. I have a question for you, please, Mr. Quelch. Oh, had you finished, Mr. Quelch?
Yeah, no, thank you. I have, Councillor.
Thank you. May I ask, Mr. Quelch, if this legal advice was given with a view to it being made public? Because there's generally a difference. May I ask whether it does make a difference, whether we're looking at advice that was intended to be made public or not by the person who wrote it?
That is a matter for the council. I mean, I obviously am the person that instructed Mr. Cannon to give legal advice. He's given his advice. Because of the nature of the legal advice, I've taken the view, and obviously members need to decide whether they agree or not, that it wouldn't be in the interests of the council for such legal advice to be available to the public, because it is very clear advice about the manner in which a decision was, not the manner, but the decision that was made, and what needs to be done if members wish to continue with the decision that they've made.
If we are about to be blackmailed, the public need to see it.
Councillor Morris.
Yeah.
I know you think you can push me. You think you can keep pushing me. But
I'm not pushing you. I'm standing up for the community. I'm standing up for the community.
Right. I close this meeting at 20 past 2.
By then,
there are continual interruptions. I've asked the member to stop doing that.
By then,
continue with the business of the council. I request that everyone please leave